Morning, this is Sensei Cub from Karate Kids, and I thought I'd bring you down here today, this morning. It's about 6:30. This is where I was born and raised. This is McQuaid Bay out here, and I still come down here and dig a lot of clams. And I was born and raised probably about a quarter of a mile up the road, and we're going to take a ride up there. I want to share a little bit of my life with you and where I came from. And my uncle and my dad used to bring me down here quite a bit to dig clams. Clyde and Junior would bring me down here, and they used to dig a lot of clams down here for a living. And it's really a pretty place. There's a lot of sea life down here too, sea birds and black ducks and all kinds of stuff. And there used to be a lot of quahogs over here, but there isn't that many anymore. And when I was down here, of course, all of this was lined up with boats. And down here, I still remember coming down here as a little kid, and all this road right here was lined up. It had all kinds of small skiff and stuff, and because people would come down here and go duck hunting, and they still do. They use airboats today to go out here. You can even see the tracks probably still if you look out there, but you can with the airboats that they use. But this was really a great place to grow up. Sometimes there was a lot of tragedy here in my family too, down McQuaid. McQuaid was really hard, and I'm going to show you a lot of different places down here where I grew up. And let's get back in my truck here, and I'll bring you up to a little stream here. This is where we used to go smelt fishing. So hang on here. Like I said, there was a lot of tragic endings down here. Life was hard. Some of the places we lived in, we didn't have any running water. We had no toilet. We had an outhouse, a double holer. We had no running water inside of our home at all. And there was 2 farms. We pretty much lived off the land on one of the farms with my great-grandmother. But anyway, let's take a ride. I wouldn't try this at home or driving, but there's nobody around down here and nobody on the road, so let's just take a cruise. And I'll stop at a few different places so you can see what McQuaid is like. McQuaid is an Indian name, and I don't know exact meaning. My cousin Rob, she looked it up and found out what it was named, and I think it was called Crooked River or something like that. But right here is a stream. This is the Smelt Brook. We used to way up there. We used to go up there and get smelts. They were running a certain time of the years. What we'd do is use a coat hanger, would sharpen up and use a hook, and would hook them out of the water. We had a lot of smelts back then. We'd also use a net. Also, I brought my kids down here. They would come down here and go swimming every summer for quite a few years. It's quite deep up above there, and it runs on both sides of the road here. And let's take a look around. Up on top of the hill up here is Fickett's house, and Sonny Fickett, he was a good friend of mine. Unfortunately, he passed away. He built the house right up here, and on the left here is where a good friend of mine lived, and she's no longer there, of course. I don't know what happened to her. Her name was Teddy Dill and Sue St. Pierre, and they grew up in this house. And Teddy ended up being my cousin. And right up in here was what he did is he married my aunt. And I'll tell you a little bit about that too. Right here where this house is, there used to be a toy factory here. And I would come down here. It was a big toy factory. They made little wooden buses, little wooden trucks and stuff. And of course, if you go out back down there, you can still there's still some down there buried in the ground. But also, so there's a lot of stuff on my dash. I use this for plumbing. But this is where the Ficketts grew up. Down there. And the Moody's were over here. It used to be a trailer. And it's along a trail there. Like I said, we were all poor down here. Back then, there was just old, crappy-looking trailers and stuff. And there wasn't much down here but old trailers and old houses. Like I said, a lot of us that lived down McQuaid here was poor. Now this place right here, I'm gonna show you. I really miss this place a lot, and it's no longer there, our farmhouse. But let me stop here and I'll show you this. And hopefully, like I said, hopefully I won't get. There's a lot of people that live here now they're not from here. But anyway, up in here, you can see the garage. The garage is still there. My grandfather used to keep his tractor in there. It was an old red tractor. And right on the other side of this bush right here was where my great-grandfather's farmhouse was. And they used to have tires that they'd slit open and turn them inside out and make flower pots out of them. But I pretty much grew up around here, and there was always a lot of apple trees right here. And they're no longer here, which is really sad. Unfortunately, my grandfather killed himself in the house that was there. It's no longer there. He went upstairs and took a 12-gauge shotgun to himself. Unfortunately, he became somewhat crippled, and I figured he was better off that way. I was only 2 years old, so I don't remember much about it at all. This was my cousin's house. I'm sorry, my Uncle Clyde's house. And he passed away also, and they sold it. And this little house has been there for many, many years. And the reason I come on in early morning is I really don't want to disturb too many people. So, anyway, like I said, growing up down here was very difficult. So let's take a little bit of ride up here. I'm going to show you where I was born and raised. There's actually still shingles. The siding on the side of the house is actually the same siding my grandfather put on the house. It hasn't changed a bit. This was all our land down through here. It belonged to the family. And I'm going to turn in here because I don't, like I said, I don't want to destroy. I know the people that live in my grandfather's house now. This was all woods out here, and there used to be a lot of deer, and I actually got chased by a moose one night walking down the road here from my friend's house. But this house over here, that is my grandfather's house, and that's the house that I was born and raised in. You can see the shingles are still there. That little shed is still there. It used to have kerosene in it. And this was all our land, all the way down through, all the way to the bay, pretty much. And there's a house over there, and he still lives there, a guy that I know, Bert. Anyway, like I said, this was a nice place to grow up, but then again, it wasn't. We had a lot of tragic endings, one of them being my grandfather. And the other was my cousin, Teddy. In 1966, he ended up killing himself also. Like I said, life growing up down here was very, very difficult. This is all houses now, and it used to be all woods. We used to play in here all the time. There's a lot of nice homes in here. It's very peaceful down here in McQuaid. Very peaceful. And I still come down here, and I still dig clams down here, and my whole family's buried down here. But like I said, there's a lot of tragic endings that happen down here, and there's a lot of stuff that I won't talk about on the video here, but that happened to us when we were kids. It was a good place, but a bad place to grow up. And there's a friend that used to live up here. His name is Lawrence, and he lived in this house. Up here, there was actually things in the ground that would pull you under the ground and pull you down. And I mean, crazy things that kids think about. But anyway, let's take a cruise up here. We're still in McQuaid Bay. We owned all this land down here. The family did, all the way down Rossmore Road. This is Rossmore Road right here. And all the way down there, my cousins still live down there also. And it's pretty down there. And let's take a ride up here. There used to be a chicken factory right here. Kids outside Blueberry, and it was, I wish it was still here, but there was two big chicken coops, and I'd come up here and feed the chickens, and I did that right after school. And then we actually moved, there was a little house down here, it's a big house now, and there used to be a little house there, but it's no longer there, and we moved up here from McQuaid Bay. We never really moved far away. And I used to travel this road on my bicycle. I used to walk it too. I'd walk all the way to town. I was very, very young then. But up in here is the graveyard of all my relatives, and all of my relatives. My family's name was Elwells. My mother was an Elwell, and also a lot of our relatives were called Blackwells. But right up here, I want to show you where what the farm looked like back down there. I want to show you where the garage was, and you can see this is my uncle's, my Uncle Clyde and Junie. But this was their farmhouse. This is what the farmhouse looked like. The bush that you saw was actually about right in here. Is where that big bushes are that you could see. And you see, these are the apple trees that were there. And this is the old barn. It didn't show the other barn because the other barn is on the other side here. But that's the old barn that we used to go in. We had hay and stuff. And you can see way back then what they used. And it was all farmland. And this is my grandfather. They said I was 2 years old when he killed himself. 1956. But anyway, I won't spend much time in here. It's my Aunt Janie who died in 2006. She died very young. But these are mostly all my relatives in here. But I just wanted to show you that picture of the barn. Oh, we'll look on the back side of the stone. See that, you know, one of them was in World War II and the other one was in the Army. Clyde was in the Army, and I spent a lot of time with Clyde. Junior said I wasn't very. It was 1970 when he passed away of cancer. We lost a lot of family from cancer, and still are, unfortunately, because they're not well. That we had down there was asbestos in the well, and we didn't know it, of course, at the time. So a lot of my family passing away with cancer problems, very young age. Some is 58 and 59 and 60 and not very old. But anyway, let's take a ride down here. We're going to go up here and we're going to see the high school. The new high school. The new high school that we didn't want there because we liked it where the old one was. Where the high school is now, what it is right now, used to be blueberries. It was all blueberry land. That's why we went blueberrying. Right here you see, it's very far up. That's Frontenac High School. This here was all blueberry land. I used to come up here and rake blueberries. I still got some rakes I'd have to show you. But all of this was all blueberry land. And there's still a lot of blueberries here. And let's see if we can get out of the truck right up here. Matter of fact, I don't know if it's too late or in the season right now, but we'll see if there's any blueberries here. But, you know, people in my time, you know, when we grew up, we never had to worry about whether or not we're going to have jobs or not, because we had so many factories here in Brunswick in agriculture, and one of them was the big blueberry field. This, you can see the high school right there, this was all blueberry land. Every single bit of it. And we all had jobs. All of us. Growing up, and that's all gone. As you can see right here, these are blueberries. They're not ripe yet. They're still white, but you can see this is all still blueberry land. There's blueberries everywhere. This whole acres upon acres upon acres of blueberries. You know, I mean, how sad is it that we have something that is still here, you know, and we don't make use of it? You know, I mean, do you know how many jobs it would be if people come down here and still rake blueberries? Our kids would have jobs. Our relatives would have. People in Brunswick in general would have jobs. These are people that don't have a trade or anything that could come down and make a pretty good living. Because, as you know, blueberries are still a pretty good thing today. They're frozen and they're everywhere. And what a shame! I don't know if you can see this. How many blueberries? Acres upon acres of blueberry land. Now, I mean, how sad is that? I think is totally ridiculous. Okay, I don't quite, I don't need to be a brain surgeon or anything, or have a PhD up in Augusta, which is like a White House, small White House, to try to figure out that something is broken here. And I think that we probably could fix it. But we've got to see these people in the office that don't, I think, for some reason, when they get in the office, their brain shuts off. And that's the way I look at it anyway. But what a shame, that we have all this stuff I mean, you can just walk down here and start raking and make a living. Whatever happened? I don't understand. A lot of our blueberries now are coming from Taiwan and places that, and California, which is great for California, but what the heck are we doing buying blueberries in California when we got them right here? I can remember I was never broke. I bought everything myself. And anyway, don't get me started. I just think it's an awful shame, because I sit there and watch my kids who don't have, they're struggling to have work. And when you come, there is no age limit. There is no, I'm sorry, you got to be 18 before you can go to work. There is no 18. We were down here at 5 years old, and some are 4, and they would rake blueberries, and they would make some money. You kids can't do that anymore. I have no idea what happened to all of this area. I don't know who regulates it. I have no idea. But I know one thing. There's a lot of kids here in Brunswick, and adults with disabilities, and people that don't have disabilities that could make a living down here with these blueberries. So I'm going to have to check into that. And trust me, being a Sensei Cub, I know when I'm pretty stubborn. And I think I will check into that. God forbid when they see me Monday at the town office, because I think I'm going to check that out. But anyway, I'm going to film when we get downtown. And take care, and I'll see you in a few minutes and let you see downtown. Bye now.